I will again try to give an outline, like a basic layout of how we'll manage an advanced prostate cancer and not discuss too many details. The basic fact is that prostate cancer globally is the most common cancer. 5 year survival is in the tune of 98%, which is extremely good. But once we have a metastatic disease, then at 5 year survival only gets about 30%. And most of this time in metastatic setting is spent in castrate resistant state. That is 75% of your overall time is spent in castrate resistant state. And this is the state in which many newer therapies have remarkable role. So what will we do if there's a newly diagnosed metastatic prostate who probably came with lymph nodal metastasis or bone metastasis? If there's no prior tissue diagnosis, we'll try to obtain a tissue diagnosis either from the primary tumor or even the metastatic site. Wherever required, we try to do an immunohistochemistry to subtype the tumor. And the treatment options would depend on the life expectancy of such individuals, the comorbidities, and whether the comorbidities are under control, the patient preferences and doctors' preferences, whether they can travel, whether they are fit, whether they like infusional or injectable or tablets, tumor characteristics. And of course, the main role is to optimize the symptoms. And the first symptom is generally pain control. So what do we do if there's biochemical recurrence without a definite metastatic disease? We'll try to assess the PSA, and we will try to do a PSA assessment every 3 to 6 months. We'll try to have a periodic staging evaluation, which could be either a CT scan or an MRI or a PSMA PET scan, which is very widely available now. And this would definitely be done in high risk cases. High risk would be defined as when the PSA doubling time is less than 12 months. Treatment, if there is no established metastatic disease, would remain observation alone, and ADT alone would not be routinely used. However, in very rare instance, when we know the possibility of metastasis is very high, we would try to use intermittent ADA therapy. Now, what do we do when there's metastatic hormone-sensitive prostate cancer? So classically, hormone-sensitive prostate cancer is defined as a state when there has been no previous anti-androgen therapy exposure to such patients. We would try to assess the extent of metastatic disease. This metastatic disease could normally be in bone, could be along with it in lymph nodes, and it's important to understand whether any other viscera is involved, including liver and lung. Then low versus high volume disease. High volume disease is classically defined as more than 4 or more sites of bone disease, out of which at least one is outside the spinal cord or the vertebra. We would do a baseline PSA and of course a PSA monitoring at 3 to 6 months interval. And regardless of the patient's age or the family history, to all patients, we would offer genetic counseling and whenever possible, germline testing, again, which is just a blood test. So treatment option in hormone-sensitive metastatic prostate cancer would be either a LHRH agonist, which could be leuprolide. It could be an LHRH antagonist, most commonly used is Degrelix, or surgical castration. Now, ADT should be combined with androgen pathway-directed therapy, which could be abiraterone acetate or enzalutamide, or it could be combined with chemotherapy, that is docetaxel. This would, again, as I said, depend on whether visceral disease is uncontrolled, whether there is a high tumor burden or not. Interestingly, a situation in which there's low volume metastatic disease, they can be offered primary radiotherapy. Therefore, there's a role of radiation in metastatic situation as well when it is combined with androgen deprivation therapy. What we definitely don't do is give first generation anti-androgens. So bicalutamide, flutamide, and nilutamide-like drugs are not routinely given. When they move to a castrate-resistant state, this has been the options thus far, starting with 2004 when we had docetaxel as an option. Then we moved to cabazitaxel as a second-line chemotherapy option. We had the first dendritic cell vaccine for any tumor, that is Sipuleucel T, which was in 2010. Currently approved but not available in India. We had abiraterone, which came up in 2011. Just next year, we had enzalutamide. Now we have radium-223, we have lutetium therapy, and we have actinium therapy. So what would we do? We'll have to assess the baseline parameters, including PSA, the serum testosterone at baseline, parameters like hemoglobin, LDH, and alkaline phosphatase, extent of metastatic disease. We have to define the symptoms which the patient has, and of course the performance status, along with imaging and most, whenever possible, germline testing or somatic mutation testing. What we would do, as I said, is ADT along with anti-androgens or chemotherapy. When there's a low tumor burden, that is when there are minimal symptoms, we could try dendritic cell vaccine. And radium-223 can be used when only there is bone disease without having any lymphadenopathy, which is greater than 3 centimeter, or when there is no visceral disease. When we move to the next line therapy, what is very important to understand is what is the sequence of event. How do we sequence the first line, second line, and third line therapy? And generally, alternate mechanism of action is what is advised. So if I start with hormones, I would like to move to chemotherapy. And if I start with chemo, I would like to move to hormones. What would we do in the second line setting? Think of cabazitaxel as a second line option. PARP inhibitors, that is rucaparib and olaparib, when there's an HRR gene mutation noted, which again is widely available now. Wherever PARP inhibitors are not available or they are cost constraints, we could even think of platinum-based therapies in such cases. And we have interesting data on, again, MSI high subset of patients. And such patients have high tumor burdens and can respond to pembrolizumab as a therapy. In all patients who are treated for advanced prostate cancer, bone health happens to be the very important parameter which has to be assessed from time to time. And in all such patients, a baseline BMD and 6 to 12-month BMD is recommended. That is bone mineral densitometry. Preventable treatment includes either supplemental calcium, vitamin D, smoking cessation wherever applied, weight-bearing exercises, bisphosphonates or denosumab when there's an established osteoporosis. And such bone protective agents, a bone anti-resorptive therapy, that is denosumab or zoledronic acid, is normally given when there are established bone metastasis. Thanks so much.